Do you think that culture justifies animal abuse? Why or why not? So my name's Cole, and your name is?
Oh, I'm Hailey.
Hailey. Nice to meet you, Cole. So the question today is, why aren't you vegan yet? Or why aren't you vegan?
It's mainly just a cultural thing. I mean, I've lived with eating meat for a long time.
Sure. So it's cultural. Do you think that culture justifies animal abuse? Why or why not?
I never really thought about it. Like, I don't like to think about it.
Because white culture, like especially in the South, there's a lot of hunting and fishing. But I think when we take hooks and put those through the mouths of fish when we don't have to, that they feel pain and it's wrong. Or when we take the life of a deer, that they have a family and want to live just like us. So to end someone's life prematurely, I think that's abusive. Do you think ending someone's life prematurely is abusive?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
That kind of makes me think about it.
Can you think of any other practices that were unethical, that were based around part of people's cultures that were culturally accepted?
I mean, I would say mainly based off religion, it'd be like killing people.
Yeah, there are a lot of religions that do that. That they'll throw homosexuals off of buildings and stuff, and that's legal, and it's also a part of the culture. But would you think that that's wrong to throw someone off a building just for their sexual orientation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. So if culture isn't an excuse for animal abuse, would you like to go vegan?
I would like to try. I mean, I have uncles that are vegan,
Okay.
and so they try to convince me to go vegan. But
You should listen to them.
there's just not a lot of vegan places, especially around here. So whenever I'm hungry, I just kind of eat whatever is there.
Yeah. So I guess you could say out of convenience that you consume animal products.
Yeah, it's out of convenience and kind of culture, and where I just don't think about it.
Okay. Do you think that convenience justifies animal abuse?
No, it doesn't.
There's vegan food in the student center here. They have a vegan burger and some vegan sushi as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I usually get it
Oh yeah,
sometimes
I
here.
don't like sushi in general.
No.
Yeah.
What's
I like
wrong with
the-
you? How
I
can
just
you not
don't
like sushi?
I don't like fish. I like the
Well, it's made with avocados when it's vegan.
Yeah, I like the vegan ones because the crunchy cucumbers.
Yeah, cucumbers are based. Yeah. Have you ever seen footage of factory farms or slaughterhouses?
Yeah, my uncle, they showed me a whole documentary of this person. I forget what it's called, but he basically went around asking corporations on their veganism, vegan options, and where they lie about it.
That's interesting. Do you remember the name of the documentary?
I really can't off the top of my head.
Cowspiracy, maybe? No?
Conspiracy? That might be it.
Yeah. So how did seeing that footage make you feel when you see animals who want to live and they're struggling for their lives, and they don't want to die, but they're being forced into agony and death in these places? How do you feel about that?
Whenever I saw the documentary, I was a little bit, it did disgust me, and I did like tone down eating, specifically like fish and chicken. Um, but after a while, it's just the convenience thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Burger King has like the Impossible Whopper. Taco Bell has vegan food. Um, Panda Walk is really good here in town. They make a vegan like broccoli and tofu that's really good. Panda Walk,
I
yeah,
might try that place.
yeah, it's really good. Um, but I can understand it, and I'll admit it can be a little inconvenient at times to be vegan, you know. But after a while, it just kind of becomes like second nature, you know. I'm vegan for animals because I don't want to cause unnecessary cruelty to animals. And even on like small farms that call themselves humane, it's a lie and a marketing tactic to get people to pay for animals to be abused so they can make money. So like I it gets easier. That's what I would tell you.
What about like the cost? Because a lot of times, whenever I see vegan options, like especially around here, it's just a little more expensive, and I definitely don't have the money as a college student to afford that.
Yeah. I think the vegan burger here is about the same price as the other ones. I could be wrong. If there is a difference, it's probably like $1 or $2, you know? Um, but there are a lot of like affordable plant-based foods. For instance, like I get a crock pot and dry beans. Dry beans are like $4 for 4 pounds of beans. And they have antioxidants and lots of protein and fiber, so they're super healthy. And you can like rinse dry beans and put them in a crock pot like overnight for 8 hours. And it's a really good like just quick meal to have in a refrigerator to just go get some beans. And you know you can spice them up a bit. It's not just beans. There's all kinds of stuff. But yeah.
That sounds really cool. Thank
Yeah.
you for
So
that.
what do you think? Will you go vegan?
I will definitely try to go back to being vegan. Like
Yeah.
I'll tone down the chicken or like I'll tone down eating beef.
Well, let
But
me ask you this. If it's wrong to cause unnecessary suffering to animals, right? Like it's ethically wrong. Um, let's take another example. Like if I like to beat my wife, right? And I'm beating my wife 7 days a week. But someone says, "Hey, hitting women's wrong. You shouldn't do that. It's ethically wrong, because it causes them unnecessary pain and suffering." I mean, I think it's better if I did just hit my wife like once a week, which I'm not married, by the way, but hypothetical. But it's still wrong. Would you agree with that?
yeah, I
So,
can see the analogy.
okay.
Um, I have always wanted to ask, what about like the sentience? Because there are some levels of sentience that animals do have.
Yeah. Yeah, animals are, most scientists agree that animals are sentient. The vast majority of scientists do. And because of that, they know they exist. They feel pain, but they also experience joy. Like I volunteer at a farm sanctuary sometime for disabled farm animals, and the chickens just like love eating grapes. They go crazy for grapes. It's like they're crack.
That's adorable.
So I mean, I see them, and I don't look at them as like a product to be turned into food. I look at them as like uh, people look at dogs or cats or companion animals, because they have their own personalities and their own like worlds inside them. They have their own unique experience of the universe, and the desire to continue on and try new things like we do.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really think about these things most of the time, so I'm mainly just focused on studying.
Yeah, no, I get it. A lot of it's like hidden. So I guess I'll hook you up with some like vegan resources and our student group on campus. If you have any questions or if you need some like mentorship, we can hook you up with some people like that. So You have any more questions, thoughts, opinions?
Also heard online about like there are some plants that feel um like send out distress signals, such as like certain types of grass to other grass, um that whenever someone's being cut down.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and that's an interesting. I've heard that before. The plants feel pain argument. That's actually one of the most common things that a vegan or animal rights activist will hear. And even if plants did feel pain, in the U.S., right, according to the USDA, 70% of soy is fed to animals, and 40% of corn is fed to animals. Humans only consume 10% of corn directly, and the two largest crops in the U.S. are are like corn and soybeans. So in the U.S., like pretty much like the biggest majority of plants are being fed to animals, and it's not a one-to-one conversion from like plants to animal protein and calories. Most of it gets wasted as like poop and body heat and tendons and inedible material. So it actually takes like, yeah, that's pretty cool. It actually takes more plants for people to consume animals than just eating plants directly. But plants don't feel pain.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for talking with me.
No problem.